DevilNeverCry.
What is up, everybody? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and today we get to talk about Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. I quickly want to say a big thanks to Square Enix for providing me with a review copy of this game, and before we even get into this video, I can safely say that if you are a fan of Final Fantasy VII, whether that's the remake or the original, or even a fan of the compilation of works surrounding Final Fantasy VII, this is a game you definitely have to play. Crisis Core Reunion puts you in the shoes of Zack Fair, a young budding member of Soldier who, alongside some of his senior first-class soldiers, Angeal and Sephiroth, is sent to investigate a sudden recent mass disappearance of Soldier members. Acting as a prequel to Final Fantasy VII, you'll be uncovering the truth behind the actions that set the events of that game in motion. Compared to Final Fantasy VII, the narrative of Crisis Core isn't as grandiose. In fact, it takes a more personal approach. It's a narrative that works to its strengths and certainly is impactful. You'll leave Crisis Core Reunion wishing the price of freedom wasn't so steep. So what exactly is Crisis Core Reunion? A topic that has seeped into a lot of the discourse and discussion around this game ever since it was announced. Well, it certainly is more than a remaster. Square have basically stopped at nothing to modernize and improve this title to bring it up to par with the rest of their modern day games. It can be easy to look at trailers or short gameplay snippets and think that this is nothing more than a remaster, but for those of you that have played the original Crisis Core, you'll know just how different this game really is. Visually, you can clearly see that the game has been brought up to HD standards, with a lot of the character models and of course environments being remade entirely. And the visual revamps don't just stop there. The UI has also received a new coat of paint, bringing it up to scratch with that of Final Fantasy VII Remake. On the audio side of things, the original composer, Ishiboto Takaharu, also returns to provide a new soundtrack arrangement specifically for Reunion, so you'll be able to enjoy some of your favorite tracks with a slight twist. One of the more controversial decisions that Square Enix have taken with Crisis Core Reunion is that they've decided to replace the entire original voice acting cast from the original Crisis Core with their counterparts from Final Fantasy VII Remake. This was likely done as Crisis Core Reunion is a direct prequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake, and of course they wanted parity between the two titles. Though whether diehard fans will be able to look past this change, I'm unsure of, but if this is your first time playing through the experience of Crisis Core, then this shouldn't bother you too much at all. With that said, we can finally talk about the combat of Crisis Core Reunion, which is where this game shines, and evidently it's where they've made some of the largest changes. Long gone are the days of suffering through horrendous input lag and a clunky control scheme, as Crisis Core Reunion has entirely revamped how combat works. Crisis Core is very much in line with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Attacking feels fast, fluid and frenetic, there is no input lag, and you can make use of the shortcut system, allowing you to quickly and deftly throw out magic or abilities in the heat of battle. Camera control has also received a much needed improvement in Crisis Core Reunion. In the original, which launched on the PSP, you only had access to one analog, and that was tied to movement. As such, you had to control the camera using the shoulder buttons. Considering we have access to two analogs here, it's no surprise that you can fully control the camera just like any other modern day title. Couple this with the fact that the game runs at a smooth 60 frames per second on current gen consoles and up to 120 FPS on PC, and this feels like a whole new experience when compared to the original. On the other side of things, Square have also provided a few quality of life changes in Crisis Core Reunion to stop the game from feeling tedious. One of the changes they've included is the materia set system. As the name kind of implies, you're able to create different builds of materia and equipment, allowing you to swap between the sets quite easily when the need arises. This stops you from having to go into the menu frequently to swap out materia one by one whenever you come across a different enemy with a different elemental weakness, for example. One of the other changes they've included in Crisis Core Reunion is the ability to disrupt boss attacks. We've all been there when playing JRPGs. Going up against a tough boss, we all know they'll have that one super move which will likely wipe out your entire party or end your run. Crisis Core Reunion circumvents this entirely. If you're able to deal enough damage to the boss whilst it's charging up this attack, you might be able to disrupt it and stop it from coming out entirely. If you're unable to attack enough to disrupt the move, you might be able to hinder the damage it does, saving you from your run being ended. One of the parts of Crisis Core that seemingly remains untouched in Crisis Core Reunion is the DMW, the Digital Mindwave System. This essentially refers to the slots that you see continuously rotating in the top left-hand corner of the screen whenever you're in combat. As you can see, it has both numbers and images, and if these numbers and images just so happen to match up whilst you're fighting, you'll be provided with specific buffs, abilities, and actions that may aid you in combat, including things like leveling up your materia or your character almost instantly. Beyond combat, the Digital Mindwave system also ties directly into the narrative of Crisis Core Reunion, with changes in Zack's emotional state being directly reflected in the DMW itself. I've always liked the fact that narrative and combat are cohesively tied together through this one mechanic, albeit it is a little bit weird that it is a random slot machine that dictates your level ups and buffs during combat. With all those positives aside, however, I do have to suggest that newcomers to this game temper their expectations. This still is Crisis Core at its heart, it still technically is a PSP game, albeit with several coats of new paint. The game still follows the PSP-esque structure, you'll still be going to and from specific zones, and you'll still be going from a menu if you're going to be taking on these side missions. This game still is a far cry from the budget and scale of Final Fantasy VII Remake. As long as you go in knowing this, I think you'll be just fine. Personally, as a big fan of the Final Fantasy VII mythos and somebody who's played the original Crisis Core, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Crisis Core Reunion. I do think this is a wonderful starting point for newcomers to the Final Fantasy series, whether having only played Final Fantasy VII Remake or none of the games at all, this is definitely a good point to jump in. On the other side of the coin, I also think this game is a must-play for Final Fantasy VII or Crisis Core veterans alike. Nostalgia aside, I think Square Enix have changed and revamped just enough in Crisis Core Reunion to keep fans and veterans of the series on their toes and engaged throughout the entire game. And with that all said and done, we finally come to the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on Crisis Core Reunion and whether or not you're going to be picking the game up. If you enjoyed today's video, do be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. Not only does it help the channel out a ton with the algorithm, but it also means you won't miss out on any Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion content to come. If you're interested in seeing some live Crisis Core Reunion content, I'll be streaming the game over on Twitch. You can find a link to my channel in the description of this video. And so with that all finally said and done, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.